Okay, here is the first value pass on a little bit of lighting to bring up. See over here, all the lights are off. It's almost like muted overcast on a gray sky. Here we start introducing a little bit brighter values. And from here, right, the reason why we do this is I can extract brighter values from here, higher value levels. Once I have this, I could then take that value, for example, and use it elsewhere. See, without me having to redefine anything. So I could just basically go in here and start uh, painting with that value. If I want that value there or this value here, I could just do so by color picking with the color picker. You see here. So this is why I only need a little bit of it defined. I just need parts of it defined for allow me to start extracting the values from the image itself. So what I have here basically from this area here is a full range of values. I have very dark blacks. I have kind of 7, 8, 9 values of gray here, and from here maybe around here I have all the values from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way. The only one I'm missing here is white, right? The highest value I have here, if I sample, is not over here, right? So over here, this range I don't have yet in this image. We want to be very careful using ranges out here because it's very, very bright. See, if I put white up here, let's get 100%. It's extremely bright, as you can see here. And you can see it instantly pops the image. Even if I zoom out, it's always the #1 read. So I want to build that up slowly. I want to save my white. You don't want to get white all over the place like this, which is just too exposed, right? Even if you take a photo with your camera, it's very, very hard to get 100% white on something unless you white balance it out on purpose, right? But typical images don't have pure white, or at least quite hard to find. Okay, so just like what I did earlier, I took those values, sampled it to add my secondary, or I guess by now it'd be third level details. Start defining the form, especially the face area, which we talked about earlier. Okay, so let me turn that layer on and off. You can see we start defining the little eyeballs. This major form needs to read, so this is a big cylindrical shape. Let me pick color here. This is a round object with a little bit of lip right here. Kind of that goes, kind of does that. Erase that out. Does this, like that, right? So the form, and here's another also a negative to a positive, a negative to a positive, negative to a positive. So even though it's a kind of side views shape, right, a drawing, you still could define quite a bit of form within it by showing your values, right? Which faces up, which faces down. Like these are little bumps. So without these values, this actually doesn't read the eyeball area, but just simply by doing the values of a cylindrical form, these read as little popping eyeballs. So same with all these little areas here. Okay, so that's what this layer sort of accomplished, and it's important. See, you can see we haven't touched the background at all. Everything here is, everything over here are still the same. Nothing's changed. So the only thing we did right now is just focusing here, right? And this is a good way to work because see, even at this stage, for example, you're on a client work or you're working in house somewhere, and you have to finish it right now. Like this has to go to production. Then at least you can show it. You see, it's showable. It's like, okay, this is what I got. Let's just send that in, but it doesn't look super rough or super early stage. It's presentable in a certain degree, especially if you're working internally. It's not that bad, right? Instead of me focusing on starting with a background and do all this stuff, which is not important to the overall image, right? So imagine I spend the rest of the afternoon. Let me delete this. Now, instead of doing all this over here, I went in over here and started painting just crazy insane amount of detail and spending like 2 hours just doing this, and then your art director comes in, your creative art director comes in and say, hey, look, we got to put this into production right now, we're running out of time, right? Move on to something else. What do you got? And you're like, oh, I just have this, or even worse without the details over here, right? It's like, oh dude, I only have this, but my background is really nice defined, but here is not what your selling point's at. Your selling point's over here, right? Get this sucker defined first, because then you can always go to production. Worst comes to worst, you could just crop the whole image here and just show this, ditch the background, right? So focus on where the clients or whatever your design is going to be used first. So, and all that just comes from experience of working on so many different projects where deadlines are important, and the importance of getting things finished and done in a quality way in a very fast manner is quite important. So that's where the kind of why I'm talking about this, right? So because if you have all the time in the world, especially if you have you're working on a very long-term project, maybe in-house somewhere, then you have the luxury of doing all the details. I mean, sometimes I love to work in-house somewhere and maybe get onto a 2-3 year project, then you know you got like 3 years to flesh out all the concept art. Then you could spend a week on a painting like this. But unfortunately, because most of my work is freelance based, we don't have a week to do anything. It's everything's within the hours or a day, at most. So we tend to do stuff quite fast.